Edit. Does anyone think an option could be to tell him I want a break in the relationship until he can pass a drug test? I feel like a frog in boiling water. My F27, BF, M27, and I are in recovery for alcohol. Recently he decided he can smoke weed though, again. The last time, a year ago, he acted like an addict for weed, sneaking it, doing too much, getting too high, generally being unstable, because he *THINKS* like an addict. It doesn't matter the substance. He also has a long history of never being able to use weed in moderation. He is less than 2 months sober from alcohol. He had a one-day relapse about 7 weeks ago. Besides that he has 8 months. I told him, BC of his behavior in the past, and we'd almost ruining the relationship. I can't tell him what to do, but if he becomes a pothead I'm not sticking around. At the very least I'll ask for a break. I told him as addicts, we don't get to have our cake and eat it too. We don't get to get high every weekend like normal people. This was a few weeks ago. He agreed and said he'll only use it medicinally, like if he has a headache. Then it was it's once every few weeks. Then it's it's only when I have off work. Then it was it's only a couple times a week. Then yesterday he smoked 3 times. The 3rd time got too high and I had to babysit him, and I was like, wait a minute. I don't need to be around this shit. I'm trying to be sober. He literally cried and was like, I'll do anything to keep you. I learned my lesson, I don't wanna get too high. And he said it's not like I'm gonna smoke again in a few hours after that. A few hours later he smoked again. And again. At the movies he said I have to pee, then came back reeking of weed, and I said, did you smoke? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, then YTF did you say you're going to pee? And he said, I did pee. As if I was the one being shady here. The right thing to do here is break up with him, right? Because he's known how I feel about this for like a year. He's pushing my boundaries. TLDR. BF is abusing weed, which is serious. BC we are both addicts, alcohol, and has a shitty history with weed to the point it affected our relationship. He's now smoking several times a day while gaslighting me into thinking it's not a big deal. Even though he's acting like a weirdo. BC any substance brings out his weird creepy little addict tendencies, like being manipulative, lying, doing substances to excess, and hiding them / doing them in secret. The right thing to do here is break up with him, right? Yup. Your post history shows that he was on dating apps and lied to you previously. You don't need to be with this man. If you value honesty in your relationship, don't be with him. He has shown you through his actions that this is who he chooses to be. Who he *WANTS* to be. If this is the future you want for yourself, then stay. If it's not the future you want for yourself, then leave. But there is no future for you where he magically stops choosing this behavior. The right thing to do here is break up with him, right? If you have to ask, this guy is straight up unhealthy for you right now, and his priorities are clear. He's clearly too unwell to be in a relationship. I'm a stoner and think that you should give an ultimatum or break up. Yes, it's just weed, but it sounds like he can't handle himself with it. Like, how does a grown adult who has used weed before get so high they need someone to take care of them? Your sobriety is at stake here too. You gotta do what's best for you. If he truly can't handle himself, but also wants to smoke, he is free to do so. He just can't do it and be with you. Maybe he will change if given an ultimatum, maybe not. I don't think this situation is good for you though. You have to put yourself and your sobriety first. Ignore the words, believe the actions. You are responsible for your sobriety. If that means he's not good for that, he has to go. You only make decisions for you. He knows he's messing up, hence all the lying. Now it's not only the smoking and possible relapse that's a problem, but you have an element of deceit to deal with. If that's how he wants to handle his recovery, he can do that without you. You've been doing well apparently. Don't let him drag you back. You can't save him if he doesn't want to make changes. I think you have enough relationship advice here, but I suggest you also check out the /r/leave subreddit. It's for people trying to quit weed. I don't think you need weed quitting advice, but I think it could be really validating to see story after story of people admitting they are addicted to weed and the serious impact it has on their lives. You're not overreacting. Some people can dabble with weed and be fine. Some people will develop addiction behaviors with it. Thank you. I told him, BC of his behavior in the past, and we'd almost ruining the relationship. I can't tell him what to do, but if he becomes a pothead I'm not sticking around. At the very least I'll ask for a break. I told him as addicts, we don't get to have our cake and eat it too. We don't get to get high every weekend like normal people. You already know what you need to do, and you've already told him the consequences for his behavior. You're 100% right. Stick to your guns. Hi. I'm a therapist who specializes in substance use disorders. Set a limit. You smoke weed. We aren't together. If he cannot do this, you cannot be together. He is welcome to smoke weed. He just can't be in a relationship with you while he does it. This is one of the natural consequences of his substance use. If you set this limit and do not hold it, be with him anyway as he attempts to be a normal weed smoker, he will come to understand that the limits you set are meaningless and nothing you say holds any weight. It sounds like you're heading down this path. Thank you. My next thing I should it just be when we are around each other or at all. BC then I feel it's controlling to say, don't even smoke weed when you're alone, but on the other hand that leaves the door wide open for him to start making excuses not to spend time together, needing more alone time, like he has in the past. Like I'm just setting myself up pretty much by sagging don't smoke except when you're alone like a weirdo. If you need to be sober, this isn't someone who will help that. You're an alcoholic. So your number one priority should be yourself and your sobriety. That means you should not allow people in your life that are actively taking intoxicating substances. You certainly shouldn't be dating someone who isn't 100% sober. Further, you shouldn't be dating someone who causes you the sort of stress that may play a hand in you relapsing. Choose yourself and dump him. Hey op, are you working with a therapist? Based on your history and on this post, it seems you might need a sounding board to recalibrate healthy relationships and behavior. Sounds like you've been through a lot together, and you might be afraid to let go or lose a person you love and who loves you. But you also maybe went through 2 MUCH* together. Suffering isn't love. Toughing things out and holding on isn't always a good thing. Sometimes we need to close a chapter in our life to move on to the next. This relationship seems to no longer be serving you, or him, for that matter. I think you need to really evaluate what you need, and maybe spend some time being by yourself. Build up a healthy friend group, hobbies. Repair relationships that you might have damaged when drinking. Focus of yourself, and your health and your goals. It's up to him to decide if he wants to do the same, and it's clear he's not there yet. His rationalizing will lead to him slipping back into alcohol because he can't be sober. Even if it doesn't, he's not addressing whatever core issue is that makes him need to live life numb. That's his battle to fight, and he has to do it without you. You and your BF are codependent. Break up. The journey to sobriety is a very difficult and unpredictable one, frequently full of relapses and broken promises. He has to walk this path, but you don't. You have your own path you have to walk. If you are tired of dealing with an addict, then you absolutely can call it quits. I'd make it a clean break though, rather holding out hope for him that if he can just make some arbitrary milestone he can get you back. Because even if he makes that milestone, he can still have a setback. Yep. Don't be around people who can't stay sober if you need to stay sober yourself. He's basically slipping back into the addict mindset. I mean the lying, the silently moving goalposts, and then making you feel like you're nuts for bringing it up. As you put it, all the weird creepy little addict things. I personally don't stay around that for my mental health. I would doubly not do that if I wanted to stay sober. Addicts like to have company because shared guilt is half the guilt, or no guilt at all. At some point I would expect him to push your boundaries about your own sobriety. I would break it off for sure. Right. Tough, of course. But you can't risk yourself, and he is an addict. Peace to you. I had a science teacher in middle school who was constantly telling us he was gonna write us up if we didn't behave. Constantly said it, never did it. No one took him seriously, and we did as we pleased. BCS we knew he'd never go through with his threats. You're constantly saying it, never doing it. Your BF is gonna continue to do as he pleases BCS. He knows you won't go through with your threat. Also, sounds like he's love bombing you. Choose yourself and your own sobriety. You deserve more. Join Al-Anon. I think you managing his sobriety is a killer. He hasn't hit bottom yet. He's not done. You sound like you are though. It's not a healthy relationship if you want to stay grounded. Hop out the pot. Do you want to spend the rest of your life dealing with this? Unless he hits like at least 6 months stone cold sober, I won't bother with him anymore. Somebody else said that too, the 6 months thing. I think there's validity to that. I was originally thinking just until he's clean on a drug test, but after reading the comment seems I'm being too lenient once again. He's an addict through and through. He needs a lot of therapy and self-work to get through this. But he needs to want it first. He's not there yet. It looks like you do not want to put up with it anymore, which is the right call. All you can hope is the breakup acts as a wake-up call, but I wouldn't hold my hopes up. Also, congrats on being sober. Keep it up. As someone who has been in his position, I'm just gonna echo what other people have said. You need to prioritize your own health and make your decision based on that. I'm not gonna tell you need to leave him, but sobriety is very hard to maintain in an environment like that, and personally I would try to get myself out of that environment. Also, I'm sure you understand this already, but he is not going to be able to have a measured, reasonable conversation about this. Addiction isn't really something he can be reasoned or argued out of. He's just going to have to reach a point where he wants to quit and then quit. And after that happens, maybe he'll be able to build enough self-awareness and perspective to process what was happening to him while he was addicted. He is an addict and has decided you'll be the villain no matter what you do. Why are you waiting for him to accept you breaking up with him? You just leave and focus on your own sobriety journey. It'll be a whole lot easier without his dead weight dragging you back. Break up with him. He's a liability to your sobriety. Good on you for getting sober. As an alcoholic, this is 100% my relationship with weed, and why I'm so glad it's not legal in my state. He is replacing alcohol with weed. What he is doing is not sobriety. I certainly think you would be in your rights for breaking up with him. I think it's time to end things for your own sake/recovery. Every time you stay, you enable him. Congratulations on your 200 days. I read ahead in the comments. One thing about recovery that can be hard for natural caretakers is that we need to put ourselves and our own recovery first. All this stuff with your boyfriend is just back and forth boundary testing and boundary breaking. How much energy are you investing in this at the expense of paying attention and putting energy into your own health and well-being? Let him go his own way and you go yours. You are obviously on a great trajectory. Keep going.